Guys, we actually got it. We actually got class changes. That's a dub. That's a dub. Class tuning March 12th. As always, I love how they start this off. As always, we've closely monitored data on class performance, as well as player feedback. With all that in mind, we've developed the following adjustments to the classes that are over and underperforming in group content and PvP. These changes will go into effect with scheduled weekly maintenance in each region. Okay, so we got a Druid. Oh, wait, no. Oh, these are PvE changes, I think, right? They buffed Rejuve, not applying PvP. Okay. Preservation. Preservation has been underutilized lately, in part due to the range restrictions of the specialization. To help compensate for that, we're increasing the healing and defensives of Preservation so they can traverse the battlefield more easily and safely. Time of Need clones overall healing increased by 100%. Time of Need clones living flame healing increased by 16. That's a massive buff to Time of Need. What the hell? That's a massive buff to Time of Need. What? Okay. Life Giver's Flame heals for 40%, 40, 80 of damage done instead of 35, 70. Okay. So that's their Flame Breath heal. Inherent Resistance reduces magical damage taken by 4-8 was 2-4. Okay. A little bit of tankiness. Attuned to the Dream increased the healing done and received by 3-6 was 2-4. Okay. So slight buffs across the board. So these are all PvE changes, it looks like. PvP changes are further down. They buff Marksman Hunter, 3% down, 3% for survival. Crossbow, Ice Lance, Water Bolt, and Water Jet from your Ellie. Flurry increased. 6% healing increase. His 6% healing reduction, sorry, for Mistweaver does not affect PvP. Okay, so PvE change. They buff Shaylin's Gift. Pretty interesting considering Shaylin's does a lot of healing already. But obviously this is PvE, so we'll move on. Jadefire's Stomp. Expel Harm. Okay. Here we go. Player versus player. All right, here we go. Guys, Demon Hunter's the first on the list. Let's see. No, I'm saying that I don't know why they buff Shaylin's, but I guess it's just PvE stuff. That's why. So maybe they want Shaylin's to be better in PvE. That's what I'm saying. Fixed an issue that caused Light's Protection, Sober and Drain Life, Icy Feats, Lockout Effect, Master of the Elements, Inferior Loon to be vulnerable to enemy purge effects. Oh, I didn't know that they didn't want Master of the Elements to be purgeable. I see. Okay. Yes, it still affects PvP. It still affects PvP. That's what I'm saying. That these changes are PvE changes, technically. Because Shaylin's already does a lot in PvP. I feel like this is a change with PvE in mind that is going to PvP as well. Demon Hunter... Demon Hide, physical damage reduction is now 3%, was 5. Okay, so they take a little bit more damage. Scars of Suffering, versatility bonus reduced to 2%, was 4. So they're gonna take more damage. Okay, so they nerfed their magic damage. Okay, so Demon Hunter's gonna take a little bit more damage, so they're losing tankiness. Essence Break, damage bonus for Chaos Strike Blade Dance reduced to 40%. Okay, so less burst with Essence Break. Resolved an issue that prevented the 50% PvP reduction to the Throw Glaive cast by Screaming from being applied. Okay, so their force set was doing more than it should have, I'm assuming. So basically they're just going to be they're going to be less tanky, which I feel like this is a pretty decent change overall. I know people are going to look at this and think that these changes suck, but I feel like overall this is fine for Demon Hunter. I think the biggest problem with them is that they're so passively tanky. So nerfing them a little bit in that regard while also slightly nerfing their burst, maybe that'll help. Because, I mean, all of these are little bonuses, right? Like little percentages. So, okay, so Adaptive Swarm. Let's move on. Let's move on to Druid. So I would say those changes aren't too bad. Obviously, Demon Hunter is still going to be insane off that. Adaptive Swarm can no longer be cast during arena or battleground preparation. Okay, so people were cheesing Adaptive Swarm stacks, so they nerfed that. Gotcha. Fix an issue that caused Well-Honed Instincts to debuff to not clear upon the start of a PvP match. Okay, so that's your, what is that? That's your proc, your Frenzy proc. Frenzy Regeneration is no longer reduced by 37% for Feral Druids and Balanced Druids. Oh, wow. That's a pretty big fucking deal. Okay, so Feral and Boomkin no longer have their regen reduced by 37%. That's pretty big. Okay. Wild Attunement no longer activates when Clone is cast on an immune target. Fucking W change, bro. That's a fucking W change right there. That's a fucking W change. That is the stupidest fucking thing ever. That shit is so dumb that you can sit there and just cast immune clones and get your damage buff. Get fucked. Get fucked. We like that. We like that. Okay, solid. That's a good change. That's a terrible design. Thank God. Fixed an issue that caused reforestation stacks to persist past the starting room and PvP instances. Oh, wow. Are they saying that's a bug? Oh, damn. Druids are sad. Fixed an issue that caused reactive resin to apply to the rest of Druid if heal over time effects were dispelled after being spell stolen. Damn. I guess that they think the reforestation stuff is a bug, which makes sense because you normally can't stack stuff like that before the starting room or like in the starting gates. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty big deal, honestly, because you would get a free tree form proc in the first 10 seconds of the game. So honestly, that's pretty big for Feral and Boomkin. Good for them. Good for them. All right, let's see. Hunter. Kill shot damage increased by 25% in PvP was 10. So kill shot got a slight buff for BM. And then they slightly buffed Raptor Strike. Raptor Strike damage increased by 5%. Was 11% reduced. Okay, so they buffed Raptor Strike and Mongoose Bite for survival a bit. Okay, so BM and survival are getting damage buffs. And Marksman's also getting a slight damage buff from the PV changes up top. So survival hunter's getting 3% overall and then these changes. Okay. I mean, more damage always helps. Ring of Fire PvP talent now deals 18% of its target's health over 6 seconds, was 24. Oh, wow. They actually nerfed Ring of Fire damage. I mean, Ring of Fire is definitely pretty insane, but I feel like that's such a random change. I feel like out of all the things that I would nerf about Mage, it would not be Ring of Fire, but okay. I wouldn't doubt it if this nerf is like battleground oriented, to be honest. Like, I feel like this is like targeting BGs and stuff by nerfing that. But I also think it's because they buffed other things, right? Because didn't they buff Mage up here? So they slightly buffed Mage damage. So that's probably why they buffed Mage damage, but they want to nerf Ring of Fire for Frost, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it got nerfed for all specs though, so that's kind of weird. Prismatic Barrier now reduces magic damage taken by 10%, was 15, reduces duration of incoming magic effects by 15. Okay, I like that change. I think this change is pretty stupid. This spell, I think Prismatic Barrier is pretty fucking OP, so it's interesting that they're buffing Mage damage for Frost and Fire, nerfing Ring of Fire, but they're not buffing Arcane damage, which is interesting to me. So they're buffing Fire and Frost damage. They're nerfing Ring of Fire for all three, but then they're not buffing Arcane damage. Fevered Incantation now increases crit strike damage by 1%, was 2 per stack in PvP. Okay. Meteor damage increased by 30%, was 11. Fireball damage increased by 35%, was 18. Scorch damage increased by 300%, was 200. Okay, so they buff fire damage a bit. Okay. They nerfed fire, actually? What do you mean they nerfed fire? These are buffs. Okay, so does Living Bomb even do anything? Living Bomb increased by 800%. Is that like, doesn't Living Bomb do nothing still? Does it still do nothing? Dude, you know what's crazy? I feel like, dude, I feel like if you have to buff a spell by 800%, you probably should buff it outside of PvP to make it not dog shit. Like, if you have to buff a spell by 800% to make it even like somewhat of a global that people want to press or use, it goes off in epic BGs. Yeah, I mean, I guess in BGs that maybe that's why they're afraid of having it be good or something. I don't know. That's a crazy number, man. 800%. Should I log on my Mage? So we're on fire now. Did it work? Bro, Living Flame is fucking trash, bro. This shit is fucking garbage. Living Flame did a total of 25,000 damage. So you're just going to double that. You're going to do a little over double. So now Living Flame will do 60k damage. Living Flame is fucking awful. That is bomb. Living Bomb. Bro, that's fucking insane. So if you assume that someone has verse, you take 25. What did you do? 25.4. So you do 25 So technically, Living Flame on a real player does 21,000 damage. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know what to fucking say about that. That's crazy. They buffed Monk. Vivify got a healing buff. Invigorating Mist healing. So your Invigorating Mist, which is from your pressing Vivify when you have Renewing on your targets, that gets buffed. They buffed your Serpent. So they buffed Soothing as well. I mean, these are pretty decent. These are pretty decent buffs. They didn't nerf Vivify. They didn't nerf it. They didn't nerf it. So here, I'll explain it real quick. So a lot of spells in PvP are reduced in PvP. So this reduction, it's already reduced by 20%. They're changing that to be reduced by 10%. So it got buffed. So instead of being a 20% reduction, it's a 10% reduction. So it's a slight buff. I mean, they buffed Caster Monk a little bit, I guess. I mean, so the problem with these buffs, personally, let me give my take on this real quick. Caster Monk sucks, right? Like, Caster Monk is just useless. You're only good on Caster Mistweaver when your healing is so overtuned that you can just never die because you don't contribute anything to the game. So, I mean, I feel like, are these good buffs? Sure. But I don't think they help. I don't think they fix the problem that Mistweaver has, which is that they're just useless because they don't actually contribute anything damage-wise. They don't contribute any damage, and their CC is already DRing with other classes' CC. So this doesn't really do much, I don't think. Unless other healers got nerfed and Mistweaver stayed the same, I don't think these changes do anything, to be honest. They'll be OP in Shuffle? I don't think so. I think Caster Monk sucks ass. I think everyone can agree that Caster Monk is pretty garbo. I mean, yeah, it's RBGs though, right? Because in RBGs, you sit there and do nothing all game. Like, you just sit in the back and fucking heal forever, which is what Monk does, right? If Monk can sit in the back and do nothing but spam heal, then they're okay. And sometimes they're really good if their healing is overtuned. In Arena, I don't think that I don't think you can do that. Okay, so let's move down. Let's move down. Oh my god, they did it! They fucking did it, guys. Guys, we are pushing rank 1 shuffle on Holy Pally on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we're pushing rank 1 shuffle. Holy fuck. Okay, Denounce got buffed by 70%. They buffed Judgment by 50%. So Judgment now is going to hit for like 40k or so instead of 25-ish, something like that. So you're going to do closer to 40k damage on Judgment. Maybe more depending on if you have damage procs. That's fucking awesome. Okay, so Judgment got a damage buff. And then they made Greater Judgment absorb more. Paladins are back. Paladins are back. Paladins are back. Spread the word. Spread the word, people. Spread the word. Paladins are back. Holy Pallies are fucking back on Tuesday. Wait, that's actually sick. That makes it so much more fun, man. That makes it so much more fun. Fuck yeah. All right, let's see. So that's insane. Holy Pally's back, bro. Holy Pally's fucking back. Disc Priest. Smite damage increased by 25%. Not sure how much this matters, honestly. Atonement healing increased by 8%. So this is pretty solid. Like, you're just getting free healing now on Disc. I don't think Disc is going to be crazy OP or anything, but, I mean, you're just getting a healing buff. You're just getting a slight healing buff, so that's nice. I don't think Melee Wings is going to be good for Pally. Melee Wings still kind of blows. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't fix the issue with Disc Priest either. Okay, so, I mean, you just get more healing. Gotcha. Outlaw. Look like a butterfly talent. Effectiveness reduced by 50%. Fucking great change. I'm so sick of Outlaw CDR and just having permanent fucking evasion. So that's a great change. Awesome. So they nerfed evasion CDR. That's good. Precision shot talent damage reduction is now 3%, was 5%. So slightly less tanky. Less evasion CDR. Gotcha. Take your cut, PP Town, haste granted. Okay. I mean, I feel like these are pretty good changes overall. Like, Outlaw, I think, is one of those specs where we always talk about this with Rogue, where at lower ratings, Outlaw is not nearly as oppressive as it is at higher ratings. And I think these changes overall are going to help keep it so people that are better and higher rated aren't just kind of impossible to kill. And the haste buff is pretty big too. I think that haste buff is really insane. The roll your bones haste buff is fucking insane. So, okay. The haste for outlaw is irrelevant though. It's not about having haste for outlaw. It's about having haste for your teammate. Okay, so I feel like the outlaw changes are pretty good. Guys, what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Are the outlaw changes good or bad? I think they're pretty good. I think the outlaw changes are good. I think they're good. They buffed healing surge by 25%. Okay, so enhanced shaman gets some love. Enhanced shaman gets a little bit of love. They get a healing buff because they just die instantly every game. So here we go. Warlock. Soulburn demonic circle now lasts 4 seconds. PP combat was 6. What is that? Is that their freedom? Oh, they nerfed freedom. Okay, nice. Okay, so pretty good change that I think a lot of people feel the same about. I think lock freedom is fucking insane, especially because they can play the PvP talent that makes them have a shorter port cooldown against melee. Having basically like what 30% uptime or whatever on a freedom is pretty insane. So okay, so it's still pretty good. 4 seconds, not 6. Not as much of a speed buff. You're still probably gonna try to play short port anyways, though. And then they nerfed the flame rift damage. Okay, so Destro got a nerf. I feel like this is pretty solid. Overall, Destro doesn't feel too crazy until they proc flame portals on you and kill you instantly. So I feel like this is a pretty good change to kind of keep them in check and not be over the top. I mean, we'll have to see, I guess, how they do after. But I already see 2 warrior buffs at the bottom of my screen. I've talked about this before. And everyone's going to be like, bro, what do you mean? Warrior is fucking so bad. Warrior is so terrible. There's always going to be checks and balances in the game. So when you nerf the stuff that's at the top or like buff whatever's already like pretty close to being broken, then now you have the new class that's broken. So when I scroll down and I see these warrior buffs that are about to happen. All right, let's see. Are we ready? Are we ready to see what happens? Here we go. Last changes. Okay, so they nerfed the fear threshold on warrior, but they buffed execute. Okay, I'm so glad that this isn't like 5 lists of changes. Holy fuck. I only saw the first 2 lines and I was like, dude, there's no fucking way they're giving warrior like 9 buffs. Holy fuck, dude. Mortal strike plus 500, bro. I literally thought I was going to scroll down and see like execute damage increase, rend damage increase, deep wounds damage increase, mortal strike damage increase. Okay, so how do I feel about these changes? Guys, what do we think? I feel like these changes are a solid 6.5 out of 10. I don't think they're over the top OP and great, but I don't think they're bad. I'd say like a 6, like a 6.5. And the only reason I say that is because nothing on this list really like speaks to me where I think they're crazy good changes. I think they're pretty decent though. You know, Caster Monk got a buff. They buffed Holy Pally damage, which we've been talking about for a few weeks now. They buffed Disc Priest a tiny bit. They buffed Evoker a tiny bit. They nerfed Druid. I don't know why they didn't nerf Shaman though. I don't know why they didn't nerf Resto Shaman. I feel like there's a couple obvious nerfs to Resto Shaman. You could either nerf their earthen, you could nerf their mana, you could nerf their damage. So that's really confusing to me. I feel like it's very obvious that Druid and Shaman were the best 2 healers, but only Druid got nerfed. So that's really weird. But at the same time, I do understand that a lot of the changes they make have to do with like lower rated teams. But I still find it weird. I find it weird that they didn't nerf Shaman mana or anything. So that's kind of weird. But maybe that's because they buffed other things. Like realistically, Pally comps, especially like Pally melee stuff, is really annoying for Shaman. So maybe that's why they didn't nerf it. I don't actually know their reasoning, to be honest. I feel like Shaman could have easily gotten nerfed here. Shaman already nerfed with Earthen because they don't stand in it. Okay. DH is fine. Yeah, they nerfed DH tankiness. Okay, so maybe that's why. So they nerfed tankiness of Locks and Demon Hunter, which affects Shaman pretty heavily compared to a Druid just because you don't have the same level of HPS. I guess they buffed Druid technically. They nerfed and buffed. Dude, I feel like this reforestation change is huge. You can't get tree form stacks anymore. I feel like that's a pretty big fucking nerf. Okay, well, I guess we'll see. I mean, we got changes, man. We got changes. We got changes.